Hey there, welcome to Professor Purl, a YouTube channel about knitting. I'm Nicole and this is episode 40. The fun thing about this being episode 40 is it's my 40th birthday this week, and that's unplanned. Just serendipitous that it's my 40th birthday and the 40th episode of this knitting YouTube channel. So I'm Prof Purl for Professor Purl on Ravelry and Instagram if you follow me over there, and everything I'll talk about is linked below in the description bar. And there's some fun things to talk about. Lots and lots and lots of knitting plans. I finished a large finished object. So if you're into cozy knitting updates, that's what this is about. When I say cozy, it's really, really hot out here. I live in the Pacific Northwest in Oregon, and it's been really hot. Like yesterday was like 105 degrees Fahrenheit. So today feels cool because it's in the 90s. And I'm on my porch. I could be inside. I have air conditioning. Whenever I record these in the summer, I just like to enjoy the process of recording and sharing about my knitting, which involves hanging out on my porch for me. I just love my porch so much. And the channel, Professor Purl, gets its name because I'm a math education professor and school is starting up. Meetings have started up. I will talk more about that in the personal section, but because of that, I really want to enjoy my knitting today and talking about knitting. So we'll see if I make it through the whole episode or if I get too hot and need to go inside. So I'm wearing my outline tank, which I have showed on the channel maybe last episode, but wearing it out and about in real life on a 90-degree day. And so far I'm feeling great. So anyway, let's hop into our finished object. Just one finished object. I have one finished object today, and it's a love note sweater. This is my 6th love note. I actually wondered if I should bring out all my other love notes, but I only brought out one, which is my finished one. So maybe, okay, this is really wild. I'm gonna put on over the top of a knitted tank top on a 90-degree day. Sweater with mohair. Honestly, it doesn't feel bad at all right now. You know, that's the nice thing about the Pacific Northwest. We don't have a lot of humidity, so I'm not feeling bad at all, even with mohair on right now. Okay, so you might be thinking this looks a little different from a regular mohair. From a regular love note, and it is a little bit different. The main modification I did is no lace. So the love note has this iconic lace pattern that's beautiful. I've made a medium size with the regular lace cropped, and then I did a not full length, not cropped, kind of middle version in a size large for an oversized sweatshirt look with lace. I've done a no lace, plain, but with suri and slub together. Very, very cool. I did like a commercial yarn, I can't even remember it, but substituted out the lace pattern for another 12-stitch lace repeat, and that was really fun. And I've made Matilda a traditional one. So I knew for my 6th one that I wanted to do something fun, so I did a lot of modifications to it just to have fun with it. So I removed the lace and didn't just leave it plain, added some embroidery to it. So I added 3 little daisies here, and I think 4 down here, 3 and 4. It makes 7, which is a really cool prime number. So this embroidery is called a Lazy Daisy, and I have really no experience doing embroidery. I have done like French knots and things for toys, and the only other embroidery project I can think of was in 3rd grade. I feel like my mom and some other room moms came to class and taught our class how to do embroidery, like some stitches on like a piece of cloth. So So that and some toys, that's the extent of it. So my very first time doing this Lazy Daisy was on here. So it's imperfect, but in a way that I like. It's kind of like quirky. I like it. I always envision this because this yarn is Purls and Postulates in the Math Education colorway, fingering held with mohair, and the coordinating mini, if you buy a sock set, is a yellow color that I got to name called Numberline, and I love it. And so I always wanted, like when I bought the yarn, I knew I wanted the yellow with this. I think that it just looks stunning together, this kind of pinky purple magenta with the yellow. I think it looks so good. And so I always wanted embroidery. I thought I would do more. I imagined it like a lot, but then as I was doing it, I pared back, and I even thought I would do like one on the sleeves, and I like it how it is right now. So the other modification is, you'll notice that the Love Note sweater on a lot of people has a very wide neckline, and so I wanted it to be in a bit more. I like kind of a closer neckline sometimes, and so you don't have to do provisional cast on, though I did, and I picked it up and I knit 4 rows, and then I did a folded over collar instead. So that's my other modification, and I really like it. And then for fun, I'm always talking about the difference between tubular bind off and Italian bind off, and so for fun I wanted to create a garment that had both bind off so I could show people when I'm talking about it. So I did the tubular bind off here. So what that means is I basically did some double knitting to kind of create a tube, and then basically grafted or Kitchener or Italian bind off at the end of the double knitting, and that's tubular bind off. And then I did Italian bind off here on the sleeves, and so you can't really tell but basically both Italian bind off and tubular bind offs create an invisible sort of bind off where the knitting just seems to kind of roll over, which is what I thought would be so fun, because I also did this, and a folded collar kind of gives a similar illusion. So I have like I have 3 sort of different folded hem, the tubular, and the Italian. That's just like knitting nerd life there. So those are the main modifications to the sweater. I took some notes, let me just check. Yeah, so those are all the modifications. Very subtle, not a lot, but for your 6 love note, yeah. My goal is sometime in my lifetime to knit 10 of these. I would love to have said, I don't know, I just think it'd be fun to be like, I've knit 10 of that. Like, I don't know. I was gonna make a math joke, which is like if we were in base 6, I could say I had 1 0. Okay, maybe I'll edit that out. It's really funny if you know base 6. Okay, so on that note of wanting to knit more love notes, I am thinking that I would like to do a love note knit along, and I'll take this off because it's hot. I am thinking that I want to do another love note knit along. We've done 2 of them. The channel's been around 2 years now, and my very first knit along was a love note, and so then I did a second annual last year. So I'm thinking about doing a 3rd one on October 1st, just the same time as the Stephen West mystery shawl knit along. So a lot of people do that. It's super fun. I'm not going to be doing that, and so I'm thinking about casting on my 3rd love note. Let me know if you've made a love note. Let me know if you haven't made a love note. Let me know if you want to make another one, or maybe you don't. Let me know that too. So my next love note, I should probably make Matilda another love note. So there's that. But for myself, Matilda's my 5-year-old. I would love to make a white one, and maybe not like pure white. I have a lot of like these beautiful yarns from the Arkansas Sock Society, and I feel like it would be cool to use those, maybe 2 of them, and like fade from one color to another. with some white mohair. So it wouldn't be like perfectly white because some of them have colors. I have one that's like mostly white with like speckling, and then one that's like pink and white. So thinking of like kind of a fade with that. And then white mohair. I think it'd be so good. My other thought is I have some sparkle yarn from them. So a sparkle one because I don't have a sparkle. So those are some of my love note thoughts. All right, since I last recorded, I have worked on 3 works in progress. I have more than that, but I'm going to show you the 3 things I've worked on. So this is a shopping bag that I'm using as a knitting bag because it's iridescent, and it says, in my defense, I was left unsupervised and the Fiber Festival was open, and so I'm not going to talk about flock more, though it's tempting, but I feel like I have exhausted my flock talk. But if you're interested, there are 2 videos, one video about my social experiences and one about my haul, so you can pick what you like or watch both. And so if you're interested in flock talk, there are separate videos for that. While at flock, I cast on a Musselburgh, which is a hat pattern that I'm sure you've heard of, I'm sure you've knit, for my daughter Matilda, who's 5. I did not know how ridiculously fun it would be to go through my yarn collection. You know all the single skeins you have? Like maybe you are like me and maybe you have a lot of single skeins. You know, it's like part of the sock society of getting single skeins. You buy a special skein at a yarn store. You know, there's these special skeins. And I discovered when I knit my Musselburgh, I just really enjoyed that I could knit this whole skein and not waste any yarn, not have any yarn left over, and have a really beautiful thing. And I love the Musselburgh hat. It's like my favorite hat to wear. Let me know if you have a favorite hat pattern that's not the Musselburgh. I would love to go check it out. But I do love that I'm like using up all my yarn. So if you have another pattern like that where you're like using up all of your yarn, I'd love to know that too. So yeah, it was fun to just take it out. And before I left for flock, I just brought out all these different yarns. I showed them to my 5-year-old and I said, pick one for your hat. And the amount of joy that it's been giving me is unreal. So she picked this colorway. It's called You Glow Girl. I love the Arkansas Yarn Company's label. It's this vellum paper. Hexagons are my favorite polygon, so like I have an affinity towards this. The base is Yummy Sparkle, which is 75-15-10, so 75% superwash merino, 15% nylon, and 10% stellina. So these would probably be like so good for socks. And I think I intended on doing that with this yarn. I just love it. Matilda picked it, and I think it's fun. I would enjoy it, but it's also like the best yarn for a 5-year-old. Like it is everything. It's sparkle, all the different colors. She loves rainbow, like everything. And then it's also, you can use a black light on it. I mean, I'm cruising on it, and so I'm to the point where I need to start decreasing now. So I need to switch needles. Like I just use these 16-inch cords for round and round, and then when I do the increases and decreases, I use magic loop. I think I use a 32-inch cord. So yeah, I'm to the decreasing. Now Matilda is like, she saw it last night and she's like, she loves the yarn and she loves the look of it, but I think she's more like, why is this long too? Because she doesn't understand sort of the geometry, I guess, of it kind of folding in on itself. But so if I go like this is I'm gonna start decreasing. So this is probably the length of it. This looks like pretty good for a 5-year-old. I knit the size child for my own head. I measured hers and tried my child size on for her, and it would work. Like it would keep her head warm, but it's just, I like it when they're a bit snugger on your head, not super loose. And so I'm actually knitting until, though she's 5, the toddler size. And I think even still, I think it might be a little big. So I just love this so much. Here you go. I'm gushing about it. Before I start the decreases, I'm going to need to kind of sew up the center, because you're supposed to use like a pinhole or disappearing loop cast on, and I did not. I just cast 8 stitches on, much like a lot of people do. Like Maddie and Kristen from the Weash Your Needles do this, and then you just use this tail and sew it up, and you won't be able to tell. And if you can tell, I'll make it the inside of the hat, but I'm thinking you can't. It's my first time doing that, because when I cast it on, it was like crazy. It was like I had all these bags. I was like standing in line, and it was like the most inconvenient time to cast on, and so I did it that way. Oh, okay. Just some yarn jewelry. It's so interesting. I've been knitting this all over, and I've been getting so many questions from like non-knitters about it because I'm knitting jewelry. But I have a narwhal from Charmed and Dangerous. They're the cutest. I think like not every Saturday, but almost every Saturday, 11 a.m. Central Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, she does a update, and there's usually on Saturdays, and there's usually a narwhal. This is a beach narwhal, so cute. And my friend Anna gave me these for my birthday. They're these Pearl Smith Purl stitch markers, and my knitting jewelry is giving me so much joy because it all coordinates. I love that. And so it's interesting when you knit around non-knitters, how many people ask me like, what's the jewels for? I'm like, oh, they think it's like part of whatever I'm making. And it's like, I would say that's the number one question I get from non-knitters, is like always asking about my knitting jewelry. And just the knitting jewelry, when it coordinates, it's like, it's the best. So that's been my favorite whip. Hopefully it'll be done this weekend. I'm hopeful I'll finish that soon. Not to talk about personal life too much, but I'm a professor, and we go back, like we have a contract start date where we like go back, and then there's meetings, so many meetings, and it's usually like 2 weeks before the students return. Like I'm not exactly sure when the students move on to campus. Might be next weekend. I think it's next weekend. Or like next week, I think they move to campus sometime. I should know this actually, but nonetheless, the 15th is our contract start date, and we have like all day meetings. And sometimes they're like more like pep rallies, to be honest, like to encourage you for the year. And sometimes they're like meetings. So this whole week is like meetings. I didn't even know if I could fit this in, but this is like my one slot in the week where I had some free time, so I'm like fitting this in. And so I want to embrace like the start of the school year. I love the start of the school year. It's a very romantic time. I love like the planning and the teaching. The meetings I can be kind of a curmudgeon about. So I do a couple of strategies for my mental health to like be happier and more present in the meetings. So one of my strategies is I do a lot of planning before the meeting, so that I don't feel like I have like a ton of workload. Like when I'm at the meeting, like I would say for the past few years, all my classes have been fully planned. Currently, I would say all my classes but one are planned. Like, and when I say planned, I mean like planned for the whole year. My website's developed, my copy's done, like planned. But one of my classes, it's a doctoral class. I'm teaching a research literacy class for doctoral students, and that one I'm still fine-tuning. But I go in mostly planned, so it's not lingering over me. And my other strategy has been to start a new project. So this is in a bag from that I need to remember it because I love their bags so much. That Crafty Little Fox. I have 2 bags from that Crafty Little Fox. This is wax canvas, leather. The finishes are like the zipper. Do you hear it? It's like, it's sturdy. It's so good. Okay. I have been purposely planning this project for my all-day meetings. I showed it the last episode. I don't know, I was building it up so much. It's a half and half wrap. And I've started with a like boring color. Melissa from Stitches Bee Slip-In showed on her last episode her final half and half wrap, which is like my motivation. Like Hers is like pinks and it's beautiful. And yeah, her and Maddie had shared to start with the boring color, which I actually really appreciate because I wouldn't have done that. I was very drawn. My other color is like a neon peachy color. Maybe it's called Flamingo. This is Peach Stone. Okay, so last time I recorded, I was here and I didn't work on it at all. I think I had like cast it on, had 2 rows, but I had done that in preparation of knowing that I had all-day meetings this week. So I've had an all-day meeting, just one all-day meeting and then like a couple-hour meeting yesterday, and then I was like working in between. And so it doesn't look like a lot of progress, but these rows are long, and so I'm proud of it. And I have an all-day meeting tomorrow, like all day, 8:30 to 4:30. And then I have, oh, does your work do this? My work does things that are called retreats, but they're not really retreats. Like, they're off campus. But it's a meeting. So I have a retreat next week that's like all day, like 8 to 4. So anyway, I've got these all day meetings and I'm going to bring this. So this is my thought is, this is the lowest goals for this, which is why I'll probably not show it a lot on here, if ever really again. My thought about this is I am not in a rush to finish this. It's fingering weight. It's going to take me 4 to 6 skeins of yarn to do. I'm going to just bring this to whenever I have meetings because it's just garter. They're short rows. I, side note, swapped out my short rows for German short rows, but meeting knitting. So that's why I want to show my meeting knitting. Okay, bun knitting. Let me grab that. I have another fiber festival I'm going to in November. It is Sacred Sheep, which is in Portland, Oregon. So like I have to go because it's like right here. So, you know, I don't have to get a hotel. I can drive there readily. So I bought tickets to go to the market on Saturday. And then on Sunday, I'm taking a class from Junk Yarn on journaling. And in November in Oregon, it's usually raining. And I think it'll be a very bright, fun thing to look forward to. And so then my friend Emily, who is the botanical knitter here on YouTube and Instagram, she's going to it. So we decided we would knit matching sweaters. So we are knitting the Milkweed sweater. There's a fingering weight and a DK version. We're knitting the DK. I'm doing my base in Explorer Knits Rocky's DK. And then I want to do my color work in Fua Fua, which is, okay, so this is 100% superwash merino, and this is not mohair, it's not Surrey, it is 70% brushed cashmere. Cashmere, 70% brushed cashmere, 30% superwash merino. It is technically a fingering weight base, and so I really wanted to swatch this to figure out, like, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna hold it single? Am I gonna hold it double? This is DK, what am I gonna do? If you've watched my flock videos, you know that I was overwhelmed at flock and I did not buy the right amount of yarn to knit the sweater, as this is the main base. So modifications will have to be made to this sweater. So 4 skeins of this. I probably needed 5 or 6 of this. So this colorway is Sequim and this is Neon Princess. And I just think they're magical together and they're going to be a Milkweed. And I'll figure out the sleeve situation. So here's my thoughts. Well, first let me show you my swatch. So that's the stockinette part. I did a little bit of color work that I'll explain later. I made sure to not cut the yarn on the back because I'm probably going to be playing a little bit of yarn chicken here. So I can just undo it. I've done that a few times in my life where I've had to use the swatch. So the gauge, this stitch gauge, not the row gauge, it's not super important for a top down circular yoke for me because I can measure and figure it out and try it on. But the stitch gauge is really important. So the pattern is 20 stitches per 4 inches and I got 21 stitches per 4 inches. So even though 21 is bigger than 20, what that means is my gauge is smaller, because if there's 21 stitches, the stitches were smaller, more stitches fit in the 4 inches. And so since more stitches fit in the 4 inches than the 20 stitches, and I have 21, that means that my garment would turn out smaller. And this is already a sweater that doesn't have a lot of positive ease. Like, it's designed to have 2 inches of positive ease at the bust, which is not a lot of positive ease in the whole garment then for me, just because of my body shape. So basically, I think I need to go up a size. I'm going to do some more math and some calculations and decide what size I'm going to knit. So I'll show you the colorwork, but I want to explain. I did the increases in the colorwork. So the colorwork pattern is for a yoke where you're also increasing. So it looks like it's kind of flared and weird, but I can see what I needed to see, which is I wasn't doing the colorwork gauge swatch to like measure something, though you can, and the pattern does provide a colorwork gauge and a stockinette gauge. I was doing my colorwork gauge swatch so I could see, do I want to hold this single or do I want to hold this double? And I've made the decision on that. I'm going to hold it double, which you may disagree with, and that's okay. Basically, with this yarn, you could use another yarn where you get very crisp color work that is just, you know, with the milkweed, you can see all the things very crisply. But with holding this double, you can see I'm not getting as crisp of color work, and I'm okay with that. I actually really like it. And so it's a choice where my color work's not as crisp, but I really like it, because especially given like milkweed, the plant, being kind of fuzzy, and I'm like really liking that this is fuzzy. And you can still see things. It's just not as defined as if I would have also done it in a rocky space or some other base. So I've swatched, and I might cast this on this weekend. We'll see. I don't need to finish this until November. There's not a rush to cast it on. There's not a rush to knit it. So I'm gonna enjoy the process of making this so that I have it to wear in November. Let me tell you about the sleeves. So I have a couple thoughts. One thought is to embrace the short sleeves, and I have so many short sleeve sweaters, and I can just see this being so cute if I knit short sleeves, like to hear about, similar to how my Soldana crop from Caitlin Hunter fits me. And I was thinking it'd be really cute to have a shirt I wear underneath it that had like big balloon sleeves or something, or big bishop sleeves. So that's sort of my thought. There's sort of like more wild thought that I am playing with is I have 2 skeins of this, and really I will probably use only one or less than one for the yoke. So for the second skein, my wild idea is that I knit to here with the Rockies DK, and I knit kind of a tighter sleeve, and then maybe I do like a very flared or bell shaped situation with this. It sounds kind of wild, so maybe I won't do it, but I can also see myself actually liking that. And there are some sweater designs out there that have bell shapes that I quite like. I think what I would do is just switch, knit around, and then do some like every other stitch knitting front to back to kind of make a ruffle kind of situation, and then go. And I could try it, and if I don't like it, I tear it out and just stick to regular short sleeves. So those are some of my thoughts. We have made it to the dream knitting section of the episode. It's going to be a lot, so I need to give like kind of a preamble about it. I think it was like in April or May when I was like dreaming about the summer. I had so many hopes, it was almost overwhelming. I wrote them down, and like, just for example, I wanted to do some test knits. I ended up doing 2 test knits this summer. I wanted to design a shawl, and I did that. It happened. I like yeah, so I wanted there to be sweater knitting, all this stuff, and it did happen, but just like I started it all at one time. I started a tank top knit along, I started a sweater, I started a shawl design all at the same time, and it seemed kind of wild. I remember thinking that, and I was thinking, I should only do one thing at a time. I should really only focus on one thing at a time, and it must just not be who I am, because here it is, end of summer for me, because school's starting. And with school starting, there's these plans. There's all these plans. And so it might sound like a lot, but I'm just embracing the planning and embracing the anticipation, and that's just as exciting as the knitting. So, okay. On September 1st, on this channel, in collaboration with Lindsay from Always Yarn First, there's going to be a cute, sweet, casual, fun knit along. So Lindsay reached out to me and was chatting because she has just completed her very first shawl design. It's called A Weekend with Friends. I shouldn't say she's just completed it. She's finished it a while ago. It's like wrapping up. Like it's this shawl design that's going to be released as part of the Arkansas Yarn Company's retreat, and so her shawl design is called A Weekend with Friends. And I just finished my very first shawl design, and it's called the Woolgathering. And if you've supported that, thank you. Yeah, so we were kind of chatting about that, and so she asked me if I would like to do a shawl make along with her to kind of celebrate that and embrace like the shawl knitting with fall. And I honestly was like, I have too much going on. And then I was like, I just need to live my best life. And I love Lindsay. I watch her YouTube channel podcast every week. She posts every week consistently. And I love a consistent like thing to watch. And she does all the crafts and stuff. She does crochet and spinning. And so anyway, I was like, I just need to live my best life and do this, even if there's not time. So that's why it's casual and fun. And it is, okay, I'm gonna get this right, Fall Shawls Y'all. And that's the hashtag, Fall Shawls Y'all. And we're sharing like the places you can post. So Lindsay's gonna have the Ravelry threads on her page on Ravelry Always Yarn First. So you can post over there and be eligible for prizes. And then you can also post on Instagram, Fall Shawls Y'all. And so yeah, we're collaborating on that, and the cast on date will be September 1st, and it'll wrap up end of September, so you can, move on and do other things. And so what can you do in a month? Like so many things. Like that's why we're gonna do like whips are allowed. Like if you have a shawl you already like, maybe it's been languishing, you can pull it out for the fall and finish it. There's so many like little one skein shawls you can do, and that was what Lindsay's designed. She's designed some one skein shawls, and I've actually curated a Ravelry bundle of one skein shawl designs for those special skeins. And so I don't have Lindsay's in there yet because hers hasn't come out. It'll come out in September, but I have others in there. And so if you're interested in that, I'll have that linked below here. Or if you have a suggestion, let me know. I can add it to the bundle. And maybe you don't want to knit a one skein shawl, you want to do something bigger. My Woolgathering takes one skein of fingering and one skein of mohair, and it makes quite a substantial shawl. So, but any shawl, it doesn't have to be my shawl, it doesn't have to be Lindsay's shawl. Any shawl can be part of this. I'm hot right now, not feeling like something around my neck, but I already like want all the pumpkin things and the cozy things, and I feel like in January, February, I tested a shawl for Tammy Gore, and I feel like that opened the floodgates for me to kind of get back into shawl knitting. I kind of like was very into shawl knitting and then got into garment knitting, and I kind of let a lot of my shawl energy languish, but it is back and I am really excited about it. So my kind of goals for the shawl make along, I have two goals and I haven't picked which one. One part of me thinks it would be really fun to wrap up an Advent project I have going on. So the Bitten Mitten sent me an advent last December, and I loved it and started a project like of a shawl where you knit like one little mini skein a day, and I didn't finish it. I got partway through. I don't even know how partway through I got. I need to pull it out. I think I got like substantially in, like maybe 9 or 10 mini skeins in. Maybe not that much, but I like something where I could see the pattern and I quite liked it. And so I think it could be fun for me to pull that out in September and just wrap that up, and I would feel really nice to have one of my advents used, and it's beautiful and I would love that. And my other thought, and this is a little bit more wild, is since I've designed my first shawl, Woolgathering, it's sort of like opened the floodgates for like other ideas. I have so many ideas now for other shawls, and so there's another shawl idea that I'd really like to do. There's a fly over here. And so I think it could be fun to challenge myself to design and knit and write a pattern up in a month. That sounds kind of wild, but I think that could be really fun to do too. So those are things I'm playing with. I also think it would be fun to make like a YouTube video about shawls, and I have a couple ideas. And so yeah, I think the make along is something I'm really excited about, and it's like really helping me I'm excited for fall already, and it's like helping me get more excited about fall. Okay, so that's one of my knitting plans. I have more dream knitting. Okay, Lindsay and I planned this a while ago that we were going to do a September 1st cast on, and we were going to have this make along. I think kind of at the beginning stages of our shawl design process, maybe we talked about this. So I knew I was doing this and it was already planned. And then I heard about Gary Knits, Gary Rides, make along or knit along. I guess make along. There's all kinds of different projects you can do. He's got a YouTube video of like, I don't even know, 5 or 6 projects you can do as part of his make along that starts on September 1st. And you buy a raffle ticket for $3. I still need to do that. And then it enters you into these make alongs, and there's different ones, and you can kind of like choose your own adventure which one you want to do that. And basically it's a fundraiser for his life cycle bike ride that he does to raise money for AIDS, and I just love it. And then I watched the video, and there's so many good projects. It was hard to pick because there's like this cabled sock I really like to do. And there's a cowl by Casey Knits, the Palm Springs cowl. And I have wanted to knit a Casey Knits design for a long time. And I always talk about, like in my head, I don't talk about it on the YouTube channel, but like in my head, I want to knit her perfectionist trap shawl. I have the yarn for it. Like I've wanted to knit one of her designs for a while, and so this felt like a really good opportunity for me to do it. And I feel like it's not too much because it's a little shawl and then another little project. It's like this Musselburgh I've just almost knit in a week and a half. It's just a little project. So I'm gonna knit the Palm Springs cowl, and the cast on's on September 1st, just like my shawl thing. So Lindsay and I will do some kind of live event, but I don't know if it'll be on September 1st or if it'll be the day before September 1st or the day after September 1st, or maybe it'll be, we haven't connected on an exact time. So if you want that, like follow me on Instagram or on Ravelry, and I will be announcing those. But also on September 1st, I will be casting on the Palm Springs cowl, and this is my yarn. I'm so excited about it. So Tammy, who won a prize on this channel, after I sent her her prize, had my address and sent me a package. In the package there was pink yarn that I used in my Barbie crop, and also this hand spun yarn, which is beautiful. She hand spun it. And so the fiber she used is Supernova Dye Works from Michigan in the color Endure. I don't know if it's coming through, but it's like blues, grays, purples, so cool tones. And this, I don't know if it's looking pink on the camera. In person, it kind of looks beigey, but it's pink. It's like a cooler pink. I had this already wound up in a cake. This is from Blue Moon Fiber Arts. I don't have the tag anymore. So I bought this as part of the Rosie Yarn Crawl, like I think the first year I moved to Oregon. So this is from like 2016 Rosie Yarn Crawl. Sorry, I moved to Oregon in 2015, but the first Rosie Yarn Crawl I went to was in 2016. And I bought this Blue Moon Fiber Arts yarn. It was pink. It is natural. There's not superwash in it. I don't have the tag anymore. I think it was Blue Face Luster, but I'm questioning myself on that now because it's, I don't see like the little black hairs that you sometimes see in that yarn, but I love it. And the reason why it's wound up is I took a class, a Juniors Abroad trip to Spain and Portugal for a month in 2017, and I caked this up and I was like, I'm going to design a triangular shawl, and I had these ideas. This was before I had my YouTube channel, and it did not happen. I started knitting it and then I undid it, and so it's been sitting around, and it's a massive amount. I think it's like, though it's one cake, I think it's equivalent to 2 or 3 hanks of yarn. But I could just save it for this thing that may or may not ever happen, or I just think it looks really good together. Now, Casey's pattern is for sport weight yarn, and this is clearly not sport weight. The thing about a cowl is, who cares? I mean, mine's obviously going to turn out bigger than what she designed. Okay, I love that. Anyway, that's going to be so fun. Okay, I'm going to stop rambling about it. I'm very clearly excited about it. Okay. I've got a shawl and a cowl that I'm casting on September 1st. You would think that would be enough, right? No. So my friend Brenda was supposed to come out to the Rosie Yarn Crawl this year, and then we got snow. It was insane. And her flight was canceled. It was so much ice, so much snow. I barely made it to Naughty Lamb the one day. It was like so icy. I have a vlog about it. You can go watch it if you're interested. But the short story is, I was sad that I wasn't hanging out with Brenda. We FaceTimed and we bought yarn together. Like the exact same yarn. Yeah, so same yarn. So we're gonna knit the same yarn, same sweater. So we picked, but prior to the FaceTime and prior to the her flight being canceled, we basically like had already knew that we were gonna knit the Halu sweater by Boylan Knitworks. Really, it's kind of very similar to the Love Note. It's an oversized fuzzy sweater with some lace. I mean, it's different. It's different. But like conceptually, it's kind of like the similar like style. So anyway, we were gonna knit that, and we were gonna pick out yarn together on the Rosie Yarn Crawl. So we still did. And then we never cast it on. I think we envisioned like swatching and doing that like that weekend, but, and I'm just kind of I love celebrating things with a new cast on, and it's like the start of a school year. And so she and I all summer have been talking about casting this on at the beginning of the school year. So we set the date as September 1st. So basically September 1st is going to be a massive cast on for a cowl, for a shawl, and for a sweater. And that sounds so insane probably, but it is just filling me with joy. That might stress you out, but I am not stressed by that. I am just excited about it, and that is my fall semester plans. It's a lot. It's like 2 sweaters, a cowl, and a shawl, but I'm excited for it. It's gonna be great. Really, it's not my fall semester plans. It's part of my fall semester plans. My neighbors always have something loud going on over there. September, October, November. That's what I need to get done in 3 months, because December is Advent season, and that's a whole different conversation. So I think I'm going to write that. I'm not much of a knitter planner. Like I don't like write my knitting plans down, but I think I'm going to write all this down and see if I can get organized on planning like what little kind of micro goals I can hit to do this. But I'm really excited about it. To the personal section of the episode. If you're only here for the knitting, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to like and subscribe before moving on. I'm skipping the sip segment because it's really hot out here and I don't feel like a cozy drink right now. Okay, personal stuff. I finished reading A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas since I last recorded. I had such dichotomous feelings about this book. I started reading it in April and just finished it, and the reason why it took me so long is I really, really didn't like the book at all. I just didn't like it. And normally, when I don't like a book, I just stop reading it and I don't feel guilty about it and I move on with my life because things need to give you joy. However, I've started reading like all the series by Sarah J. Maas. Like I've started reading Crescent City, I've started reading A Throne of Glass, and I haven't finished any of her series because I just was like, oh, I need to start reading all of her books, and I just hadn't finished any of her series. And I really wanted to say I finished reading A Court of Thorns and Roses. I don't want to give too much away, but I will say this. It's the last book, deals with a character I didn't really like that much. Found her annoying in all the other books. I love books 1, 2, and 3 so much. And then there's a pivot to a different focus on a different character. And not only was there a focus on a different character, I would say the style of writing was also super different. And the content was super different. And like A Court of Thorns and Roses, the series, is a little spicier than Throne of Glass for sure. But the last book in the series is just beyond. I personally found it disgusting, to be honest, and I didn't like it at all. And it made it so hard to read, and I just really disliked 80% of the book. So I just wanted to get to the end of the series and know how the series ended. And my dichotomous feelings are, I disliked 80% of the book. I thought it was miserable to read. But the ending I loved. I really loved the ending. And so initially I was going to give it a 2 out of 5 because I really thought the writing was terrible. I thought it was a terrible book. And so I was like in my head, like this is getting a 2 out of 5. And then the ending was really well done. So I upped my Goodreads from a 2 out of 5 to a 3 out of 5. But it was an unfortunate ending for me, the book, to be honest, when I liked books 2 and 3. I mean, in a series, you always like books more than others. But this is like, I've never had these like strong feelings about disliking a book when I liked the rest of a series so much. So it's actually made me question if I want to continue reading Sarah J. Maas, honestly. But glad I read it, I guess. I don't know. So, okay, I finished listening to an audiobook. I listened to Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I listened to this book in 2 days because it was just the best audiobook I've ever listened to. Actually, if you've listened to Daisy Jones and the Six and you understand like how good of an audiobook that is, I would love to know if you have other good audiobook suggestions because it was just, all I wanted to do was listen to that book. It was so good. So I think in the last episode I mentioned that I've gotten more into Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I misspoke by saying like she only has 4 books. That's not true at all. She's got lots of books. I found that out from my librarian and then from some comments on YouTube. Basically, I was talking to my librarian about how much I love these books, and she's like, oh, she's got lots of books. It's just that books that I've been reading are all kind of housed in a similar world. So in January, I started reading my first Taylor Jenkins Reid book, Malibu Rising. Then this summer I read Carrie Soto Is Back. 2 of those are just stunners. And I noticed that the two of them had kind of like a similar character, not a strong character, like a side character, like referenced. And they both are about like rising to fame. And so anyway, there's this like family of books that have Easter eggs. So if you read one, you'll see bits of it in the other, but you don't have to read them in order, and they're not part of a series, but they all kind of like live in this world together. If you're like, it's just a kind of a thing you can nerd out about, and it's just really well done fiction about like rising to fame in California and from different storylines, I couldn't love her books more. So yeah, I finished listening to Daisy Jones and the Six and loved it. And since I love that audiobook so much, I decided to just immediately get on the wait list for Evelyn, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And so I've started listening to that now, and I love it. I'm really enjoying listening to it. Speaking of interlibrary loans and books and things, I was watching Emily from Crochet Creations on YouTube, and she has been reading. I don't know how she does it. She's been reading a lot. And she suggested this book. Well, maybe she didn't suggest it. I think she was like, she liked it. Like, I think that was kind of her read on it. But I'm obsessed with it. Legends and Lattes. I had to interlibrary loan it. And, okay, so I'm not very far into it. I'm just on chapter 8, page 72. I like brought this to my work meeting with me just on the off chance I'd have a free time to squeeze in a couple pages. Okay, I love a fantasy book. I love a fantasy book. I'm just gonna read you the back parts of this because it's like they just capture it so well. A novel of high fantasy and low stakes. Take a break from epic battles and saving the world. This is my new comfort read. Uniquely beautiful and wonderfully wholesome. So this character is Viv, and she's like left the life of battles to settle down, and so no more battles and adventures for her, and she's starting a coffee shop, but nobody knows what coffee is, and one of the characters calls it bean water in there. And yeah, so she's an orc. And anyway, Legends and Lattes is the name of her coffee shop. And you know, the cozy mysteries, how everybody's into the cozy mysteries. Not everybody's into them, but you know how people like cozy mysteries. I've always wanted to like those because I like the idea of a cozy read and being cozy. It's like who I am with knitting, but I just haven't ever gotten into cozy mysteries because I'm not a big mystery person. So I do like fantasy and I like being cozy. So this is just like filled me. Okay. Personal life. Last weekend, Kyle, my husband, Matilda, my 5-year-old, and I did an organized bike ride, and we rode our bike 23 miles. Before having Matilda, Kyle and I used to do long bike rides. We do like centuries, which you could do like a metric century or a standard century, so like 60 miles or 100 miles. And so we used to ride our bike a lot, or cycle, I should say. But it's been harder with like living 3,000 miles away from family and having a 5-year-old. And so we did our very first organized bike ride. And so we signed up for a 23-mile bike ride. We thought that was like the smallest bike ride you could sign up for. And so we were like, we'll see how this goes. And Matilda was a champ. She did the whole thing. And I would say 22 out of the 23 miles, there wasn't a single complaint. Like, she was just like, this is amazing. And we got to see 3 covered bridges and lots of like farm animals. Like we saw horses and cows and goats and sheep and pigs even, like just, and covered bridges. So it was just amazing. And Portland does a bridge ride where you get to ride on different bridges. And that was the same day as this bike ride, but we chose this bike ride because we were thinking it would be less attended and easier for Matilda to try a 23-mile bike ride, like without it being so heavily populated. And so, yeah, it didn't disappoint. It was amazing, well done, and I was just so proud of Matilda for riding her bike that far. The last mile, she was like, I'm tired, I'm ready to stop riding my bike. And we're like, yeah, that's a normal feeling after riding your bike 23 miles. So that was really cool. Kind of all summer, Matilda's been swimming with swim team, like doing camps, and it was this long trial. She had that was kind of like a trial doing the camps. Then she had to be invited to the trial days, and then she had the trial days, and so I've been just like waiting on my email. And so she made swim teams. So that's really exciting. And I found out in my meetings this week. And so I haven't told her yet, actually. I'm going to surprise her. I got her like a shark Lego set, and I'm going to like kind of surprise her that she made swim team. And so even though that's about Matilda, not me, it feels like it's about me too, because I feel like I'm like her, like, I'm her number one fan, and you know, I'm helping her get to all the things and talking to her about it, and I kind of feel like her little sidekick coach too, because I take her swimming every Saturday and work on things. So it feels kind of like it's a win for Matilda, but it feels like a win for me too. School starting, and so Matilda and I have been having a lot of fun in anticipation of that. I've mentioned like how excited I am about planning and things, and I think Matilda's like ready to go to kindergarten. And every morning, she's been, for weeks now, she's been asking like, is today the day that I go to kindergarten? Is the day that I go to kindergarten? And it's like, not today. And so earlier this week, I came with the idea, we're gonna make a paper chain, and we're gonna count how many days until you start, and we're gonna just make this. And so Matilda made it. I mean, I helped her. Like, I got the supplies out, and I kind of explained like how to make a paper chain, but she did all the she used the ruler, did the tracing, did the cutting. I helped her with the gluing, and yeah, so she's got a countdown now. And now it's actually been brilliant, because now there's not any tears in the morning when I say you're not going to kindergarten, and she can visually see and count and see. And the last loop says kindergarten. And so I think other than a pencil case and her book bag arriving, we ordered her book bag online, other than her book bag arriving and getting a pencil case, we have all the school supplies, and that's been so fun. And it's so crazy to me. I feel like she was just a baby, and now she's going to kindergarten, and I'm so excited for her, for us, for this new season. I think I've been getting a lot of advice on Instagram, and I really appreciate it. I think the number one thing that I've heard from like everybody on Instagram that's messaged me about it, like, is like to be prepared for the first week to be really hard, and like for there to be meltdowns, and like to, like, when she gets in the car, like be ready with a snack, and like, oh, lunches. She and I have been having fun with that too. So we got her lunchbox all like purchased and ready. And so she and I, over the weekend, like started a Pinterest board, and we like have been pinning lunch ideas for her lunchbox, and we've practiced twice with her lunchbox, like her opening it up and having her lunch and like closing it and seeing if like she can do it. And so, yeah, it's been fun planning that, and that's been really enjoying this season of planning for kindergarten just as much as I think I probably will the first day. So that's pretty much it. I think I'm gonna enjoy the rest of my afternoon here, do a little bit of knitting, start the decreases in my Musselburgh. I'm trying to decide now if I want to get a water and bring it out here and sit here and knit in the heat. It's not that bad. It's definitely like in the 90s, but yeah, it's 92 degrees Fahrenheit right now. Yeah, it's 92 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's definitely warm, but it could be, I mean, I lived in the Midwest, we'd have high humidity and stuff, and this is just feeling, it's so funny how 92 degrees Fahrenheit feels cool after a 105 degree day. Anyway, tell me what your fall plans are, and if you're as excited about the planning as I am. Like, I'm sure you have lots of fun things going on. Let me know what you're looking forward to this fall. Thanks for watching. Bye!